She covered her aunt's shift as a cleaner at a hotel and was mistaken for a guest by a millionaire. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Emma, a young woman in her mid-20s, had always dreamed of a better life. Living paycheck to paycheck, she struggled to make ends meet, taking up odd jobs to support herself and her aging aunt, who had been struggling with health issues. Emma's life was anything but glamorous, and she often felt as though the world was indifferent to her existence. Today, however, was different. She had agreed to cover her aunt's shift at a luxury hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a place she had only heard about in magazines. The hotel was known for its opulence, hosting some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the city. Emma couldn't believe she was about to step into a world that seemed so out of reach. As she arrived at the hotel, she couldn't help but feel a wave of nervous excitement. The grand lobby, with its crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors, felt like something straight out of a movie. She adjusted the simple uniform she was given and quickly began her tasks. It wasn't glamorous work. She was tasked with cleaning the rooms of some of the most exclusive guests. But Emma didn't mind. She had done worse to get by. Her shift was a long one, and she was determined to do a good job, knowing her aunt would be grateful. Little did she know, her life was about to change forever. As she moved through the hallways, carefully wiping down furniture and making the beds, she couldn't help but notice a man standing in the hallway, staring at her. He was dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, and his presence was unmistakably confident. His dark hair and sharp features were hard to miss, and for a brief moment, Emma felt her heart race. She quickly looked away, not wanting to make him feel uncomfortable. What she didn't know was that this man, Liam Carter, was the heir to one of the biggest fortunes in the country. A self-made millionaire who had built his empire from the ground up, he was known for his business acumen and ruthless approach to success. However, tonight, he wasn't focused on business. He had been staying at the hotel, taking a break from his usual high-pressure lifestyle. He had no idea that the young woman in front of him was not a guest, but a hotel worker. He watched her move down the hallway, noting her concentration and dedication to her work. There was something about her that intrigued him. As fate would have it, their paths crossed again when Emma entered his room to clean. Liam, who had just returned from a long day of meetings, was surprised to see her. He had assumed she was a guest, just another face among the wealthy clientele who frequented the hotel. "Excuse me," he said, his voice low but polite. "Is this room ready for checkout?" Emma, caught off guard by his question, hesitated for a moment before responding. Yes, sir. I'm just finishing up." She quickly looked away, not wanting to reveal that she was just a cleaner. Liam smiled and nodded, thinking nothing of the exchange. He figured she must be one of the hotel staff who had been assigned to his room. "Thank you," he said, before retreating into the bathroom. As Emma finished her task, she couldn't help but feel a strange sense of pride. She had managed to pull off the act without a hitch. However, little did she know, Liam would soon realize the truth. As the evening continued, their brief encounter was nothing more than a fleeting moment, and Emma thought she would never see Liam again. But fate had other plans. That very night, as she cleaned one of the hotel's most luxurious suites, a strange twist of events led her back into Liam's world, where she would become entangled in a story that would change everything. I apologize for the confusion, but here's the continuation based on your request. Emma continued her shift at the hotel, moving through the halls with a sense of purpose. The events from earlier that evening seemed like nothing more than a fleeting encounter. She didn't expect to see Liam again, and she certainly didn't expect him to remember her. After all, she was just one of the many faces at the hotel, one of the countless employees who worked behind the scenes, making sure everything ran smoothly for the guests. Yet, as she finished her work for the night, she found herself thinking about him. It was strange. She had seen wealthy people before, but none had ever left such a strong impression on her. Liam Carter was different. She wasn't sure why, but there was something about him that stood out, his confidence, his charm, and the way he seemed so out of place in the sterile hotel environment. The next day, Emma returned to the hotel, eager to finish her shift and get back to her usual routine. But as she arrived at the lobby, she was met with a surprising sight. Liam was there, sitting in one of the plush armchairs, waiting for something. He looked up as she entered, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. Emma felt a strange flutter in her chest, but she quickly looked away, pretending not to notice him. She was just a cleaner, after all. He wouldn't be interested in someone like her. As she walked past him, she heard his voice call out to her. "Hey, you work here, right?" Emma froze for a moment, caught off guard. She turned around to face him, unsure of what to say. "Yes," she replied, her voice a little shaky. "I do. I'm just finishing up my shift." "I see," Liam said, standing up and walking over to her. "Well, I wanted to thank you for helping me last night. You made my stay here a lot more comfortable." Emma blinked, surprised by his words. "It's no problem," she said quickly, feeling awkward. "I was just doing my job." Liam smiled, clearly amused by her modesty. "Well, still, you made a difference. It's rare to find people who genuinely care about what they do." Emma felt her face flush at the compliment, unsure of how to respond. But before she could say anything, Liam continued. "I was wondering if you'd like to join me for lunch today. I'm leaving the hotel soon, and I thought it might be nice to chat before I go." Emma was taken aback. Why would a man like him want to have lunch with someone like her? She wasn't rich, she didn't live in a fancy apartment, and she certainly wasn't used to the lifestyle he led. She was just a regular girl, trying to get by. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw no judgment, only genuine curiosity. After a long pause, Emma hesitated but then nodded. "Sure," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'd like that." Liam's smile widened, and he gestured toward the door. "Great. Let's go." As they stepped out into the bright sunlight, Emma couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nerves. She had no idea where this lunch would lead, but part of her couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. They walked together to a nearby cafe, where Liam led her to a quiet table away from the bustle of the city. As they sat down, Emma felt a sense of unease. She wasn't used to places like this, and she certainly wasn't used to being treated like this, like she mattered. The waiter brought them their menus, and Liam gestured for her to order first. Emma scanned the menu, feeling overwhelmed by the choices. She didn't want to seem out of place, so she ordered the simplest thing she could find, just a sandwich and a drink. Liam ordered something much fancier, but he didn't seem to care about the difference in price. As they waited for their food, the conversation slowly began to flow. They talked about their lives, their backgrounds, and their hopes for the future. Emma found herself opening up to him more than she had with anyone else in a long time. There was something about Liam that made her feel comfortable, like she could be herself. She talked about her aunt, about the struggles she faced growing up, and how she had to work hard just to get by. Liam listened attentively, nodding in understanding. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer advice. He just listened, and for Emma, that was enough. But as the conversation continued, she began to realize something that made her uneasy. Liam had never once mentioned what he did for a living. He had told her he was staying at the hotel for business, but he had never specified what kind of work he did. Emma couldn't help but wonder if he was hiding something. But she quickly pushed the thought aside. After all, it wasn't her place to question him. As they finished their lunch, Liam paid the bill, and they stood up to leave. He walked her back to the hotel, and before she went inside, he turned to her. "It was really nice talking to you, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I'd like to see you again." Emma felt a flutter in her chest. "I'd like that too," she replied, smiling shyly. With that, they parted ways, and Emma stepped back into the hotel, her heart racing. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of something that would change her life forever. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. As Emma walked back to her small apartment that evening, the weight of the lunch with Liam still lingered on her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about how easy it had been to talk to him. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen. Liam had listened to her, really listened, and that made her feel something she wasn't sure she was ready for. She had never imagined that someone like him, with his wealth and success, would take the time to talk to someone like her. Yet, there he was, genuinely interested in her life and her story. The next few days passed in a blur of work and the usual routines, but Emma found herself eagerly awaiting the next time she would see Liam. She had tried to push the thoughts of him to the back of her mind, telling herself that he was just another wealthy man who had a fleeting interest in her. He was probably just being polite, and that was all. But when she returned to the hotel for her next shift, she was surprised to find a message waiting for her at the front desk. It was from Liam. "I hope this isn't too forward," the note read. "But I wanted to ask if you would join me for dinner tomorrow night. I understand if you're busy, but I thought I'd ask anyway." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She read the note again, trying to decide what to do. She hadn't expected him to reach out again so soon. It felt like a dream, but at the same time, she couldn't deny the fluttering excitement in her chest. She had been hesitant to get too attached, but now, she was faced with the opportunity to spend more time with him. She quickly typed a response, her fingers trembling slightly. "I'd love to, Liam. I'm free tomorrow night. Where should we meet?" The reply came almost immediately. "How about the Italian restaurant on 5th Street at 7? I'll be waiting for you." Emma smiled to herself as she hit send, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The next evening, she found herself standing in front of the restaurant, dressed in the nicest outfit she owned, a simple but elegant dress that she had bought on sale months ago. It wasn't much, but it was all she could afford. She took a deep breath, pushing aside the thoughts of feeling out of place, and walked inside. The warm glow of the restaurant's lights greeted her, and she felt a sense of unease. She was used to casual places, nothing like this upscale, intimate setting. She spotted Liam almost immediately. He was sitting at a corner table, his sharp features illuminated by the soft light above. As soon as he saw her, he stood up and smiled warmly, his eyes lighting up. "You look stunning," he said, his voice full of admiration. Emma blushed, feeling a rush of warmth flood her cheeks. "Thank you," she said, her voice quieter than usual. She could feel the tension between them, but it was different this time. This time, it felt more natural, more real. As they sat down, the conversation flowed easily. They talked about their lives, their interests, and the things that mattered most to them. Emma learned more about Liam, his rise to success, the sacrifices he had made, and the loneliness that often accompanied his wealth. Liam, in turn, listened intently as Emma shared more about her life. She told him about her aunt and how she had always been the one to take care of her, about her struggles with money and how she had always worked hard to make ends meet. They bonded over their shared experiences of hardship, of feeling like outsiders in different ways. As the evening went on, Emma began to feel more at ease, but a part of her still felt like she didn't quite belong in this world. She couldn't help but wonder why Liam, with his perfect life, had chosen to spend time with someone like her. It was then that Liam brought up the topic of her work. "At the hotel. I still can't get over how you work at the hotel," he said, his voice thoughtful. "You seem so much more than just a cleaner. You've got this spark, this energy about you that's rare." Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "I'm just doing what I need to do to get by," she said, not wanting to make a big deal out of it. "But I'm happy. I have my family to take care of." Liam nodded, but there was a strange look in his eyes, like he was trying to figure something out. "I don't think you give yourself enough credit," he said softly. "You're a lot more than you realize." The compliment took her by surprise, and she felt her heart beat a little faster. She had never thought of herself as someone worth admiring, but somehow, Liam made her feel like she was. As the night drew to a close, Liam walked her out of the restaurant, and once again, the cool night air wrapped around them. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said, his voice sincere. "I really enjoyed our time together." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of warmth spread through her. "So did I." Liam hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "I'd like to see you again, Emma. Soon." Emma's heart skipped a beat, and she nodded. "I'd like that too." As she walked away, she felt like everything was changing. The life she had known, the struggles she had faced, suddenly felt distant. For the first time, she felt like she was stepping into a world where she didn't have to hide who she was. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would lead her into a world of secrets, hidden truths, and a love she never saw coming. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. Emma felt a strange mixture of excitement and anxiety as the days passed since her dinner with Liam. She couldn't deny the connection she felt with him, but at the same time, she wondered if it was all too good to be true. It was a world she had never been part of, wealth, luxury, and the easy confidence that Liam seemed to exude. She had grown up in a world where every dollar counted, where the next paycheck was always uncertain and where dreams seemed out of reach. But with Liam, it felt like those dreams were suddenly within her grasp. It was a Saturday afternoon when Emma received another message from Liam. "Hey, I was thinking about our last dinner. I'd love to show you something special this weekend. Are you free?" Emma's heart raced as she read the message. She had been waiting for this, for another chance to see him, but she was also hesitant. What if he was just being kind? What if he didn't really see her the way she had started to see him? She quickly typed a response, trying to keep her cool. "I'm free, Liam. What did you have in mind?" The message came almost immediately. "I'll pick you up at 7. Be ready for something fun." That night, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the words he had sent. She had no idea what Liam had planned, but she knew it would be something completely different from the life she knew. As 7 o'clock approached, she dressed carefully, wearing a simple yet elegant outfit she had bought on sale at a local boutique. She wasn't used to dressing up, but she wanted to look good for Liam. She had no idea what to expect, but she was ready to step into a new world, even if it meant stepping out of her comfort zone. When Liam arrived at her apartment, he was dressed casually, but still effortlessly stylish. He smiled as she stepped outside, his eyes lighting up at the sight of her. "You look amazing," he said, his voice warm. Emma smiled, feeling a rush of warmth at the compliment. "Thanks," she said, trying to hide the nerves she was feeling. They drove through the city, chatting about everything and nothing. As they made their way through the streets, Emma couldn't help but notice how different everything felt when she was with Liam. There was no pressure, no expectations, just two people enjoying each other's company. They soon arrived at a small, charming theater that Emma had never seen before. Liam led her inside, where the atmosphere was cozy and intimate. The place was nearly empty, except for a few people scattered around. It was the kind of place that felt special, like it was hiding away from the hustle and bustle of the world outside. "I thought we could watch something different tonight," Liam said, guiding her to a small table near the front. "I know you like old movies, and they're showing one tonight." Emma felt her heart swell with appreciation. She had mentioned once, in passing, that she loved classic films, but she hadn't expected Liam to remember, let alone plan an evening around it. As they sat down, the lights dimmed, and the screen flickered to life. The film was an old black-and-white romance from the 1940s, one of Emma's favorites. She couldn't believe that Liam had gone out of his way to make this night perfect for her. It felt surreal. As the movie played, Emma found herself relaxing, the worries and insecurities that had been plaguing her slipping away. She was completely absorbed in the film, but even more so in the quiet presence of Liam beside her. It was as though time had slowed down, and for once, Emma didn't feel like she had to be anyone else. As the movie ended, Liam turned to her, a small smile playing on his lips. "I'm glad we did this," he said. "I know it's not your usual night out, but I wanted to do something special." Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She had never imagined that a night like this was even possible for someone like her. The evening had been simple, but to her, it meant the world. As they walked out of the theater, Liam took her hand, and the warmth of his touch sent a rush of emotion through her. "Thank you for this," Emma said softly, her voice full of gratitude. "This was perfect." Liam smiled, his gaze softening. "I'm glad you liked it." They walked to his car, and as they drove through the city, Emma felt a deep sense of peace. She had spent so long worrying about what she didn't have, but with Liam, she realized that none of that mattered. They didn't need grand gestures or fancy dinners. They just needed to be together. As they reached her apartment, Liam pulled the car over to the curb. "I had a great time tonight," he said, looking at her with sincerity. "I hope we can do it again soon." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'd like that." She hesitated for a moment, then leaned forward, giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. "Good night, Liam," she said softly. "Good night, Emma," Liam replied, his voice low. As she stepped out of the car and made her way to her apartment, Emma couldn't help but feel like everything had changed. This wasn't just a fling or a casual connection. There was something real between them, something worth exploring. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself, about Liam, and about the life she had always dreamed of. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. The next few weeks passed in a blur of routine for Emma, but the sense of excitement that came from her time spent with Liam lingered. Each time they met, It felt like a new chapter in a story she had never imagined for herself. Yet, deep down, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that things were moving too fast. She had spent so much of her life hiding in the shadows, never quite feeling like she belonged in the world of luxury and wealth. With Liam, however, it was different. He made her feel seen, important, like she had something to offer beyond just being another face in the crowd. They continued meeting, having dinner at quiet restaurants, taking walks through the city, and even attending events together. It was clear that Liam enjoyed her company, but Emma started to feel a growing sense of unease. She couldn't help but wonder if he truly saw her as an equal, or if he was simply indulging in the novelty of a relationship with someone outside his usual circle. One evening, after a particularly pleasant dinner at a charming Italian restaurant, Liam offered to walk her back to her apartment. As they walked side by side, Emma couldn't contain the questions that had been swirling in her mind. "Liam," she began, her voice hesitant, "I know we've been spending a lot of time together, but I have to ask, what do you really see in me?" Liam turned to her, a puzzled expression on his face. "What do you mean?" he asked. Emma sighed, trying to put her feelings into words. "I mean, we come from such different worlds. You have everything, money, status, success. I'm just someone trying to get by. I guess I'm just wondering if I'm what you really want, or if this is just some kind of experiment." Liam stopped walking, his brow furrowing as he faced her. "Emma, I've told you before, none of that matters to me," he said, his voice earnest. "I've spent enough time around people who only care about status and wealth. What matters to me is who you are, how you make me feel, and how you challenge me in ways I never expected." Emma looked up at him, her heart racing. She wanted to believe him, but there was still a part of her that wasn't entirely convinced. She had heard similar words before from men who had claimed to care, only to leave her feeling empty and used in the end. "But how can you really know me?" Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly. "You don't know anything about where I've come from, about the things I've had to do just to survive. How can you love someone like me?" Liam reached out and took her hand, his grip firm but gentle. "I don't need to know everything about your past to know that you're someone I want to be with," he said quietly. "I see the strength in you, Emma. I see how hard you work, how you care about people, how you make the world around you better just by being yourself." Emma felt her eyes well up with tears, but she quickly blinked them away. She had never been one to show vulnerability, and the idea of letting someone see her that way made her feel exposed. Still, in that moment, she felt something shift inside her. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was enough. Like she didn't have to hide the parts of herself she had always kept buried. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "That means more to me than you know." Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "You don't have to thank me. I mean it." They continued walking, the silence between them comfortable, filled only with the sound of their footsteps. As they approached her apartment building, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. For once, she wasn't worried about what might happen next. She wasn't worried about whether or not she was good enough. She simply allowed herself to be present in the moment, knowing that she didn't have to have all the answers. When they reached her door, Liam leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her cheek. "I'll see you soon," he said. "Take care of yourself, Emma." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "You too, Liam." As she closed the door behind her, she leaned against it, taking a deep breath. She wasn't sure where this relationship would lead, or if she was ready to fully open up to Liam, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could be part of a world she never thought she belonged in. Little did she know, Liam had already made up his mind about her. And as their relationship continued to grow, he would soon reveal the depth of his feelings for her in ways Emma never saw coming. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. A few days after the heartfelt conversation outside her apartment, Emma began to feel like she was living in a dream. Her days at the hotel had become more routine, but her time with Liam was anything but ordinary. They continued to meet whenever they could, spending quiet evenings together and talking about everything under the sun. There were moments when Emma felt like she was floating, as if nothing in the world could touch her when she was with him. However, as time passed, something began to change in the air between them. Liam had always been kind, thoughtful, and attentive, but Emma started to notice a shift in his behavior. He seemed distracted during their conversations, his mind often wandering as if he was preoccupied with something. At first, Emma brushed it off, thinking that it was just the stresses of his business life. But as the days wore on, the distance between them grew. She could feel it, even in the small things, how he no longer called her as often, how their conversations seemed less personal, how their meetings were shorter. One evening, when they were sitting together at a quiet cafe, Emma decided to confront him. She had to know what was going on. "Liam," she began, her voice steady but with a hint of concern. "Is everything okay? You've seemed distant lately, and I can't help but feel like something's wrong." Liam looked up from his cup of coffee, his expression guarded. He opened his mouth to speak, but paused, as if unsure of how to respond. Emma felt her heart race. She had never seen him like this before. "I'm fine," he said, but the lack of conviction in his voice made Emma's stomach churn. "It's just, things have been hectic lately." Emma frowned, not convinced. "Things are always hectic for you, Liam. But this feels different." There was a long silence between them, and Emma could see the conflict in Liam's eyes. She didn't want to push him, but she needed to understand. Finally, Liam sighed, setting his coffee cup down. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you," he said, his voice low. "But I wasn't sure how to bring it up." Emma leaned forward slightly, her heart pounding in her chest. "What is it?" she asked softly. Liam took a deep breath. "The truth is, I've been dealing with some personal issues that have nothing to do with you," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "I've been trying to balance everything, my family, my business, and this relationship, and it's been overwhelming. I haven't been able to give you the attention you deserve, and I'm sorry for that." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't about her. It was about the pressure Liam was under. She had feared that he had lost interest in her, or that something had changed, but hearing his explanation gave her a sense of clarity. "I understand," she said, her voice gentle. "I know your life is complicated, but I don't want you to feel like you have to hide things from me. You can talk to me, Liam." He looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I know, and I'm sorry I've been distant. I don't want to lose what we have, Emma. I just need some time to figure things out." Emma nodded, her heart swelling. "I'm here for you," she said softly. "You don't have to go through this alone." Liam smiled, the weight in his eyes lifting slightly. "Thank you. I promise I'll do better." For the rest of the evening, the tension between them seemed to dissipate. They continued talking, but now there was a new sense of openness between them. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Emma knew that relationships took work, and they both had their challenges to face. But she was willing to fight for this one. As they said their goodbyes that night, Liam kissed her on the cheek, lingering for a moment. "I'll see you soon," he said, his voice soft and sincere. Emma smiled, her heart light. "I'm looking forward to it." She watched him walk away, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. She had always feared that things would fall apart, that she wasn't good enough for someone like Liam. But now, for the first time, she felt like she was ready to face whatever came next. Liam had been honest with her, and that meant everything. As Emma entered her apartment, she felt a sense of calm she hadn't felt in a long time. The world outside might be unpredictable, but she had found something real with Liam, and that was all she needed to move forward. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." The following weeks were filled with a sense of anticipation for Emma. Liam had kept his promise to be more present, and their connection seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. Still, there were moments when Emma would catch herself wondering whether she truly belonged in his world. They had spent time together, and she had allowed herself to believe in what they shared, but she couldn't shake the feeling that things were moving in a direction she hadn't fully anticipated. Despite everything feeling almost perfect, she began to question the long-term reality of their relationship. Liam had his world, his business, his wealth, and his family, and Emma was still trying to figure out how she fit into all of it. They had talked about their backgrounds before, but she had never felt like they were on equal footing. He came from a place of privilege, and Emma was still fighting to stay afloat in a world that often seemed indifferent to her struggles. One evening, as they sat on a bench in the park, watching the sunset together, Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Liam was unusually quiet, lost in thought. She could tell something was on his mind. "Liam," she started, her voice gentle but filled with curiosity. "What's going on? You've seemed off lately." Liam turned to her, his expression softening as he looked into her eyes. He sighed, as if gathering his thoughts. I've been thinking about something, he said slowly. I've been so focused on my business and everything else in my life that I haven't been paying enough attention to you. And it's been bothering me. Emma frowned, confused. What do you mean? You've been great, Liam. I understand that you're busy. He shook his head. I know you do, but I want to be better for you. I want to be present, and I've realized that I've been holding back in a way. I've been keeping parts of my life separate from you, and I think that's not fair to you. Emma's heart ached as she listened. She had known that Liam had been holding back, but hearing him admit it was a different feeling. She had felt the distance between them, but she never wanted to push him. I just don't want you to feel like you're not enough, Liam continued, his voice low. You are more than enough, Emma. You mean more to me than you know. But I've been afraid to open up fully. I've been afraid that if I let you in completely, it might change things. Emma reached out, placing a hand on his. Liam, she said softly, you don't have to be afraid. I'm not going anywhere. I just want you to be honest with me, with yourself, and with us. Liam looked at her, his eyes full of emotion. He squeezed her hand gently. I'm sorry for not being fully open before, he whispered. I've realized that if I want a future with you, I need to be honest, no matter how difficult it might be. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment when they could both stop hiding behind their walls and truly face the future together. She felt a new sense of hope rise in her chest. I'm glad we're having this conversation, she said, her voice steady. We're in this together, Liam. We don't have to have all the answers right now, but I know that we can figure it out if we're honest with each other. Liam leaned in, pressing his forehead against hers. You're right, he said softly. I don't want to keep anything from you anymore. The moment was quiet, intimate, and full of promise. Emma felt the weight of their shared understanding, and for the first time in a while, she felt truly at peace. They didn't have everything figured out, but they had each other, and that was enough. As the evening stretched on, they walked hand in hand through the park, their footsteps falling in rhythm with each other. They talked about their hopes for the future, about the things they wanted to accomplish, and about the kind of life they envisioned together. It wasn't perfect, and they both knew that there would be challenges ahead, but in that moment, Emma felt like anything was possible. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew that with Liam by her side, she was ready to face whatever came their way. As they reached her apartment, they paused at the door, the silence between them comfortable. I'll see you soon, Liam asked, his voice soft. Emma smiled and nodded. Definitely, she replied, her heart light. As she stepped inside and closed the door behind her, she felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in a long time. She didn't have all the answers, but she had found something real, something that was worth fighting for. Little did she know, Liam was about to take their relationship to a whole new level, revealing a side of himself she never saw coming, and it would change everything once again. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. The next few weeks were filled with new changes. Emma felt a shift in the air between her and Liam, one that felt like a promise. After their heart-to-heart conversation in the park, she had been waiting for the moment when things would truly begin to feel real, and it seemed like that moment had arrived. They spent more time together, and Emma started to see Liam in a different light. He was still the successful, ambitious man she had admired from the start, but now, she could see the vulnerability behind his polished exterior. For the first time, Liam seemed willing to open up, not just about his struggles with work and family, but also about his personal life and the things that scared him. Emma couldn't help but feel drawn to him even more. As their relationship deepened, Emma also started to think about what it meant for her. She had spent so much of her life focused on survival, on getting by and taking care of her aunt, that she had never really stopped to think about her own happiness. Now, with Liam, it felt like she was finally allowing herself to dream again, to imagine a future that wasn't defined by the limitations of her past. One evening, as they sat together at a rooftop bar in the heart of the city, Emma looked out over the skyline, feeling a sense of wonder she had never experienced before. The city was alive, buzzing with energy, and for the first time, she didn't feel like she was just a small part of it. She felt like she belonged here. Liam, she began, her voice a little more hesitant than usual. Do you ever think about the future? About where all of this is going? Liam turned to her, his expression thoughtful. He studied her for a moment before answering. I do, he said, his voice low. and I think about it a lot. The truth is, I've never really allowed myself to think beyond the next big deal, the next project. But with you, Emma, I feel like I'm finally seeing a different path. A path I didn't even know was possible. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had never expected him to say something like that. She had always assumed he had his life planned out, that his future was mapped out in front of him. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took her hand, his touch warm and steady. I mean that before you. I thought I had everything figured out. I had the money, the success, the lifestyle. But I never had someone to share it with. And now, I see how much more there is to life when you're not just living for yourself. I want to build something with you, Emma. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never imagined that someone like Liam, who had everything, would want to build something with her. The idea of a future with him felt almost too perfect, too good to be true. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw sincerity, and she realized that she wanted this, too. She wanted to build something real with him. I want that too, Liam, she said softly, squeezing his hand. I've spent so much of my life just trying to get by, but with you I feel like I can actually dream. I can see a future where we're not just surviving, but thriving together. Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with something that Emma could only describe as hope. That's all I've ever wanted, he said. To have someone who believes in me, who believes in us. The moment hung between them, filled with unspoken promises and a sense of possibility. Emma felt a weight lift from her chest, as if the future she had been afraid of was suddenly within reach. But just as things seemed to fall into place, Emma's phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from her aunt, asking if she could come over later to help with some things around the house. Emma glanced at her phone and then back at Liam. I'm sorry, I have to go. My aunt needs me. Liam nodded, his smile warm but understanding. Of course. Family comes first. He stood up and offered her his hand. Let's go together. I'd love to meet your aunt sometime. Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She hadn't expected him to offer that, but it felt like a step forward, like he was truly becoming a part of her world. She took his hand and stood up, feeling the warmth of his touch and the weight of his support. As they walked together through the city streets, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for everything that had led her to this moment. She had never imagined that her life would change in this way, that someone like Liam would walk into her world and show her what it meant to truly be seen and loved. But as they walked hand in hand, Emma realized that maybe the dream she had always wanted wasn't so impossible after all. And just maybe, her future wasn't as uncertain as she once thought. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. The following weeks felt like a whirlwind for Emma. Her life, once defined by constant struggle and uncertainty, was now filled with moments of unexpected joy and warmth. She and Liam had grown closer, and their connection had deepened in ways that Emma hadn't anticipated. He was more than just a man of wealth and success. He had become someone she trusted, someone who understood her in a way that no one ever had before. Liam had even begun visiting her aunt's house, offering to help with little tasks around the apartment. It was a gesture Emma hadn't expected, but one that made her heart swell. It felt like a true step forward in their relationship, one that showed he wasn't just interested in her, but in the people who mattered most to her. For the first time in years, Emma felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. But as the relationship grew, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that things were moving quickly. She had always been cautious, used to taking things slow, especially after years of having to fend for herself. There were moments when she found herself hesitating, unsure of where this new chapter of her life was taking her. And so, she began to pull back slightly, not in any overt way, but in the small, almost imperceptible ways. Less frequent texts, shorter phone calls, the occasional delay in responding to his invitations. It wasn't that she didn't care about Liam. She cared about him deeply. It was just that, for the first time in a long while, she was feeling conflicted. What did this relationship really mean for her? Was she ready to give up the independence she had worked so hard for? Was it possible for someone like her to truly belong in Liam's world without losing herself in the process? One evening, as Emma sat in her apartment, sipping a cup of tea and staring out the window at the city lights, she heard her phone buzz. It was a text from Liam. Hey, can we talk? I've been feeling like something's off between us. I want to understand. Emma's heart sank. She had known that Liam would eventually notice her distance, but she hadn't expected it to come so soon. She took a deep breath and typed a quick response, agreeing to meet him at the cafe they frequented. When she arrived, Liam was already there, sitting at a corner table, his expression serious but not angry. As she approached, he stood up, offering her a small smile. "Hey," he said softly, pulling out the chair for her. "Thanks for coming." Emma sat down, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. "Liam, I'm sorry if I've seemed distant. I didn't mean to worry you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "It's just, I've been thinking a lot about us, and I'm not sure where we're headed. I'm not used to having someone so close. It's scary, but it's also really nice." Liam nodded, his eyes understanding. "I get it," he said, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "I can see that you're scared, Emma, and I don't want to push you into anything. But I also don't want you to feel like you have to hide from me. We're in this together, and if you're unsure, I'm willing to take it slow." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. Liam's words were exactly what she needed to hear. She had been afraid that he would push her away, that her hesitation would cause him to pull back. But instead, he was offering her space, giving her the time she needed to figure things out. "I really appreciate that," Emma said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I don't want to lose what we have. I just need to take a step back and process everything. This is all new to me, and I need to make sure I'm ready for it." Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I'm here for you, Emma. Whenever you're ready, we'll figure this out together. No rush, no pressure." Emma looked down at their intertwined hands, feeling a sense of comfort and safety that she hadn't realized she had been missing. This was exactly why she cared for him so deeply. He understood her in a way that no one else had. "Thank you," she whispered. I think I just needed to hear that." They sat there for a while longer, talking about their hopes, their fears, and what they both wanted out of life. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was one that needed to happen. By the time they left the cafe, Emma felt lighter, as though a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She didn't have all the answers, but she knew that Liam wasn't going anywhere. They were in this together, and that was enough for now. As they walked down the street, Liam slipped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "No matter what happens," he said softly, "I'm glad I found you, Emma. I really am." Emma looked up at him, her heart full. "Me, too," she replied, smiling. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like everything was going to be okay. She didn't have to have it all figured out right now. She just needed to take it one day at a time, with Liam by her side. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." As the days passed, Emma began to feel a sense of calm settle into her life. The conversation with Liam had brought clarity, and she found herself looking forward to what the future held. They had agreed to take things slow, but there was a new understanding between them. Liam was patient and understanding, and Emma felt more secure knowing he wasn't rushing her. They continued to spend time together, but now there was no pressure, no expectations, just two people getting to know each other more deeply. Emma had always been used to being independent, but with Liam, she was starting to see that vulnerability wasn't something to fear, it was something that could bring them closer. Slowly, Emma allowed herself to open up in ways she hadn't before. She shared her dreams, her insecurities, and the things she had kept hidden for so long. And Liam listened. He never judged, never tried to fix her problems. He simply listened. The way he looked at her made her feel valued, like her thoughts and feelings mattered. Emma found herself falling for him more each day. She started imagining a future with Liam, one that was different from the life she had always known. She pictured a life where they built something together, not just in terms of their relationship, but in every aspect of their lives. It was a new kind of dream for her, one where she didn't have to do everything alone. One evening, Liam invited Emma to a charity gala he was attending with his family. It was an upscale event, with well-dressed guests, live music, and extravagant decorations. Emma had never been to anything like it. She was used to small gatherings and quiet nights at home, but this was a whole new world. As they arrived at the venue, Emma's nerves started to kick in. She wasn't used to the high society atmosphere, and she was worried she might feel out of place. But Liam, as always, reassured her with his calm presence. "You look beautiful," he whispered as they walked through the grand entrance. Emma smiled, feeling a little more at ease. As they mingled with the other guests, Emma was surprised by how comfortable she felt with Liam by her side. His family, who had always seemed so distant and untouchable to her, treated her with kindness and warmth. Liam's mother, in particular, was welcoming, and they spent a good portion of the evening chatting about Emma's life and interests. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was part of something bigger. It was a stark contrast to the world she had come from, but it wasn't as intimidating as she had imagined. Liam's family made her feel like she belonged, and as the night went on, Emma's worries faded away. The evening culminated in a speech from Liam's father, who spoke about the family's business and the charity they were supporting. As Liam stood next to her, Emma couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. She was with him, not just as his girlfriend, but as someone who was becoming a part of his life. It was a feeling she had never experienced before. But as the night ended and they left the venue, Emma's thoughts began to wander. She had enjoyed herself, but there was still a lingering question in her mind. Was she truly ready for this world? Was she ready to be a part of Liam's life in a way that went beyond their private moments together? She didn't know the answer. The pressure of belonging to such a different world still weighed heavily on her, and she found herself questioning her place in it. As they walked through the city streets, Liam sensed that something was on her mind. "Emma," he said, his voice soft. "Is everything okay?" Emma looked up at him, her heart heavy with unspoken thoughts. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice quiet. "I enjoyed tonight, but I feel like I'm in over my head sometimes. This world, your family, it's all so different from what I know. I don't want to disappoint you." Liam stopped walking and turned to her, his expression serious. "Emma," he said, taking her hands in his. "You are never a disappointment to me. You never have been. I care about you for who you are, not because of where you come from or what you've done. I want you to be a part of my world, but not because you feel like you have to. I want you to be with me because you want to, because you see a future together." Emma felt a weight lift off her shoulders as she heard his words. He wasn't asking her to change. He wasn't expecting her to fit into some mold. He just wanted her. And that was enough. "I want that too," Emma whispered, her eyes meeting his. "I want to be with you. I just need to take things one step at a time." Liam smiled softly, pulling her into an embrace. "That's all I ask," he said, kissing the top of her head. "We'll take it one step at a time, together." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Emma realized that the future didn't have to be perfect or planned out. She didn't need all the answers right now. What mattered was that she had found someone who cared about her, someone who was willing to walk beside her, no matter where the journey took them. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt truly at peace with the unknown. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." As the weeks went by, Emma began to feel more secure in her relationship with Liam. She no longer doubted that she belonged in his world, and she was no longer afraid to show him all the parts of herself, the vulnerable, uncertain, and imperfect parts. It felt like they had reached a place of understanding, where both of them could be open about their fears, their desires, and their dreams. Liam continued to be patient with her, giving her the space she needed, but also always reassuring her that he was by her side, no matter what. Their relationship had transformed from something tentative to something solid, something that felt like it could last. Still, Emma couldn't help but notice the way her life seemed to be changing. The luxury of Liam's world was slowly seeping into her own. She had been to more fancy dinners, charity events, and weekend getaways than she ever thought possible. At first, it was all so new, and while Emma had begun to enjoy some of these experiences, there were moments when it felt a little overwhelming. She was still the same person who had grown up fighting for every little thing, and sometimes, being surrounded by wealth and privilege made her feel like she was living in a different reality. But the more she spent time with Liam, the more she realized that the most important thing to him wasn't her status or background. It was the person she was, the way she cared for others, and the way she made him feel. As Emma sat in her apartment one evening, reflecting on everything, she realized just how much she had grown over the past few months. She had become someone who could embrace vulnerability, someone who could open up to another person without fear of being judged. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had found a balance between who she was and who she wanted to be. It was an empowering feeling. Liam had noticed the change in her, too. He often told her how proud he was of the strength she showed in her everyday life. Emma could see that his admiration for her was genuine, and it only made her want to give even more of herself to him. She had never imagined that a man like Liam, with his success and his life of comfort, would see something in her that made him want to stay. But as they spent more time together, Emma realized that it wasn't just about the wealth or the luxury. It was about the connection they shared, the way they understood each other in a way that no one else could. One weekend, Liam surprised Emma with a trip to a small cabin in the mountains. It was a simple getaway, no luxury or grandeur, just the two of them, away from the city. Emma was excited, but she also felt a little apprehensive. What would it be like to spend an entire weekend with him, away from everything they knew? Would it bring them closer, or would it make her realize how different they really were? As they arrived at the cabin, Emma immediately felt a sense of peace. The place was nestled in a quiet valley, surrounded by towering trees and a calm river. It was the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of their daily lives. Liam smiled as he unpacked the car. "I thought we could use a break," he said. "No meetings, no distractions, just us, and some quiet time." Emma nodded, grateful for the simplicity of it all. She had grown so used to the whirlwind of city life and the events that came with being in Liam's world that she had almost forgotten what it felt like to slow down. The cabin was cozy, with a stone fireplace and large windows that offered a breathtaking view of the surrounding mountains. They spent their days hiking through the trails, cooking meals together, and simply enjoying each other's company. It was a far cry from the high society events Emma had attended, but it felt so much more intimate. As the evening fell, the two of them sat outside on the porch, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars above. Liam reached over and took Emma's hand in his fingers gently tracing the lines of her palm. "This is perfect," he said, his voice soft. "I've been so caught up in everything. I almost forgot what it felt like to just be here, in the moment." Emma leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I'm glad we're here," she whispered. "I needed this. I didn't realize how much until now." Liam kissed the top of her head. "We'll always have moments like this, Emma. No matter where we go, no matter what happens, we'll always have each other." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. In that moment, she knew that no matter what the future held, she and Liam had something special, a bond that wasn't defined by wealth or status, but by the connection they shared. As the days passed and they returned to the city, Emma felt more confident than ever in her relationship with Liam. She no longer felt like an outsider in his world. Instead, she felt like she had found her place beside him, where she could be herself, flaws and all. Their relationship wasn't perfect, and it would face challenges, but Emma knew they could handle anything together. She had come so far from the woman she once was, and now, with Liam by her side, she felt ready to face whatever the future had in store. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." Emma had always thought that love was something simple, something that made sense the moment it happened. But as her relationship with Liam continued to grow, she realized that love wasn't always neat or straightforward. It came with complexities, with moments of doubt, and with hard decisions. As the days went by, Emma found herself at a crossroads. She had opened her heart to Liam, allowing him into a part of her life she had kept hidden for so long. Yet, as she spent more time with him, there was still a part of her that held back. It wasn't that she didn't trust him. It wasn't even that she was afraid of what could happen. It was simply that Emma had never been a part of a world like Liam's. His wealth, his status, it all felt so foreign to her. Despite how much he reassured her that none of it mattered to him, Emma still couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she didn't understand. The gap between their lives seemed to widen every time she stepped into his world. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the people he was surrounded by, the expectations, and the lifestyle that felt so far removed from her own. She had always been independent, fighting for every little thing she had, and now she felt like a visitor in Liam's life, unsure of her place. But as the uncertainty started to build, Emma realized that it wasn't the lifestyle she feared. It was the idea of losing herself in it. The more time they spent together, the more she felt like she was being swept away, not by the love she had for Liam, but by the pressure to fit into a world she wasn't sure she belonged to. Liam had been patient, understanding, and kind. He had never once made her feel less than, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was somehow unworthy of him, of the life he led. It was late one evening when Emma found herself sitting on the balcony of her apartment, staring out at the city below, her mind racing. The world seemed so big, so full of possibilities, but it also felt overwhelming. She had come so far in her relationship with Liam, but it felt like there was still a part of her that wasn't ready to move forward. It wasn't that she didn't love him, because she did, deeply. It was just that she wasn't sure how to reconcile the life she had always known with the world he was offering her. The truth was, Emma wasn't sure what she wanted anymore. She had always been able to take care of herself, to push through the challenges of life on her own. But now, with Liam by her side, it felt like there was more to consider. She couldn't just make decisions based on what she needed or wanted anymore. She had to think about them together, about how their lives intertwined, about the future they were building. And that was a lot to take in. Liam, sensing that something was on Emma's mind, asked her to meet him at one of their favorite spots in the city. It was a quiet little cafe that they had discovered on one of their early dates. It was the kind of place that felt like it belonged to them, a little corner of the world where they could be themselves without any pretenses. When Emma arrived, Liam was already waiting for her, his face serious but soft. He stood up when he saw her and immediately pulled her into a gentle embrace. "I've missed you," he said quietly, holding her close for a moment before letting her go. Emma smiled weakly, her heart heavy. "I've missed you too," she replied, but there was a sadness in her voice that didn't go unnoticed by Liam. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. Emma took a deep breath, searching for the right words. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I've just been feeling unsure about everything." Liam's expression softened, and he motioned for her to sit down. "Tell me what's on your mind," he said, his voice gentle but insistent. "You can tell me anything." Emma sat down across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She had never been one to open up easily, but with Liam, she knew she could be honest. I'm struggling," she began. "I love you, Liam. I do. But sometimes, I feel like I'm losing myself in this relationship. I'm not sure where I fit into your world, and it's making me question everything." Liam listened carefully, his eyes never leaving hers. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to offer a solution right away. He simply waited for her to continue. "I don't want to feel like I'm living in two different worlds," Emma continued, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm afraid that if I give too much of myself to you, I'll lose who I am in the process. I don't know if I can keep up with this life you're offering, and I'm scared of what that means for us." There was a long silence as Liam processed her words. Emma could see the wheels turning in his head, and she held her breath, waiting for him to say something. Finally, Liam spoke, his voice calm and steady. "Emma, I've never wanted you to be someone you're not. I love you for who you are, not for what you can give me or the world I live in. If you feel like you're losing yourself, then we need to slow down. We need to take the time to figure out what's right for us, not what anyone else expects." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she wasn't alone in this. Liam wasn't asking her to change or fit into his world. He was asking her to be herself, to take her time, and to move forward at her own pace. "I don't want to lose you, Emma," he added softly. "But I also don't want you to lose yourself in this. We'll figure it out, together." Emma looked at him, her heart full. For the first time in a while, she felt like she had found her footing. Maybe it wasn't all figured out, and maybe it would take time, but she was willing to face the uncertainty with Liam by her side. "Thank you," she whispered, reaching across the table to take his hand. "Thank you for understanding." Liam smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "Always." And with that, Emma knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." In the days following their conversation at the cafe, Emma felt a sense of relief that she hadn't felt in months. Liam's words had settled in her heart, and she no longer felt the pressure of having to be someone she wasn't. There was a new sense of calm between them, a mutual understanding that they were willing to take things one step at a time, no matter how uncertain the future seemed. They continued their relationship without rushing into anything, taking the time to simply enjoy each other's company. The next weekend, Liam invited Emma to a small gathering with some of his friends. It wasn't the usual grand party or gala that she had come to expect, but a more intimate affair at his place. Emma was hesitant at first, but after some reassurance from Liam, she agreed. When she arrived at his apartment, she felt an unexpected warmth. It was a much more personal setting than the luxurious venues they had visited before. Liam greeted her with a smile, looking relaxed and at ease in a simple shirt and jeans, rather than the suit and tie she was accustomed to seeing him wear at formal events. "I'm glad you came," he said, kissing her on the cheek as she entered. "It's just a few of my closest friends. No pressure, I promise." Emma smiled, feeling instantly more comfortable. The evening unfolded with light-hearted conversations, laughter, and delicious food. For the first time in a while, Emma didn't feel like an outsider in Liam's world. His friends were down-to-earth and kind, and they seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her. She was still the same woman who had struggled to get by, but in this room, she didn't feel like she was standing out because of it. As the night went on, Emma and Liam found themselves in a quiet corner of the apartment, talking while everyone else enjoyed the music and conversation. "I'm glad you're here," Liam said, his hand gently brushing against hers. "I know this isn't the world you're used to, but I want you to know that I'm not asking you to change for me." Emma looked into his eyes, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. "I know," she said softly, "and I appreciate you for that. I'm not trying to be anyone else. I just want to be with you." Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "That's all I need," he replied. They stayed close to one another for the rest of the evening, the simple act of being together in such an ordinary, intimate setting reminding Emma of how much she valued their connection. It was a stark contrast to the high-profile events she had been a part of, but in that moment, she realized how much more meaningful these quiet moments were. The next morning, as they sat on the balcony of his apartment sipping coffee, Liam turned to her with a serious expression. "Emma, I know we've been taking things slow, but I want you to know that I'm committed to this, committed to you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say something so direct. "I'm committed too," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "But I also know we need to continue to be patient with each other. We both come from different worlds, and I'm still figuring out how to make this work." Liam nodded, his hand reaching out to take hers. "I understand, and I want you to feel like you can be yourself with me. We'll work through it together, at whatever pace feels right." Emma smiled, feeling the weight of his words settle in her chest. For the first time in a long while, she realized she didn't need to rush. They had time. They had each other. And that was enough for now. As the weeks continued to pass, Emma's confidence in her relationship with Liam grew. She stopped second-guessing herself and allowed herself to fully embrace the love she felt for him. There were still moments of doubt, moments when she wondered if she truly belonged in his world, but those moments grew less frequent as she learned to trust in what they had. Liam, too, had begun to show more of himself, allowing Emma to see the parts of him that he had kept hidden. They spoke openly about their hopes and dreams, their pasts, and their futures. It wasn't always easy, and they had their share of misunderstandings, but every challenge they faced only seemed to bring them closer. It was in these moments of vulnerability that Emma realized just how much she had changed since meeting Liam. She had once believed that love was something that had to be earned, that it was only for those who had it all together. But now, with Liam, she realized that love was something much simpler. It was about being there for each other, supporting one another, and growing together. And for the first time, Emma allowed herself to believe in that kind of love. As the seasons changed, so did their relationship. It wasn't always perfect, but Emma had come to understand that perfection wasn't the goal. What mattered was that they had each other, and that they were both willing to put in the effort to make their relationship work. One day, while walking through a park near her apartment, Liam stopped and turned to her, his expression serious but gentle. "Emma, I know we've been taking it slow, but I need you to know something." Emma looked up at him, her heart racing. "What is it?" she asked. "I love you," he said simply, his eyes locking with hers. Emma felt the words settle deep in her chest, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. She had never been the type of person to expect grand gestures, but in that moment, Liam's words felt like everything she had been waiting for. "I love you too," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. And as they stood there, in the quiet of the park, Emma realized that this was only the beginning of their journey together. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." Emma had never expected her life to change so drastically, yet here she was, standing beside Liam, in a relationship that felt as though it had transformed her in ways she hadn't thought possible. The love she felt for him was undeniable, but as she continued to navigate her place in his world, there was a constant pull between the life she had built for herself and the new life she was slowly stepping into. She had always prided herself on her independence, on her ability to stand on her own 2 feet. But with Liam, there was a shift. As their relationship deepened, she found herself more willing to rely on him, to trust in their future together. And though it felt freeing in many ways, it also scared her. Could she truly embrace this new life without losing the essence of who she was? She hadn't fully answered that question yet, but the more time she spent with Liam, the more she understood that love wasn't about abandoning one's past or identity. It was about blending those parts of herself with the love they shared, creating something new that was uniquely theirs. The relationship had grown in ways that surprised both of them. They had spent weekends exploring the city, taking short trips together, and enjoying the kind of quiet moments that had once felt foreign to Emma. Liam's friends had welcomed her into their circle, and Emma had begun to make a place for herself in his world, no longer feeling like an outsider. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of Liam's apartment, enjoying the cool breeze and the view of the city lights, Emma turned to him with a question that had been on her mind for some time. "Liam, have you ever thought about what's next for us?" she asked, her voice soft but curious. He looked at her, his brow furrowing slightly. "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone gentle. "I mean, we've been together for a while now, and I know we've talked about taking things slow, but I can't help but wonder where we're heading. What does the future look like for us?" Liam took a deep breath, as if considering her words carefully. "I've thought about it," he said slowly. "And honestly, I see us growing together. I don't want to rush anything, but I also don't want to waste time. I want us to build something lasting. But what about you, Emma? What do you want for the future?" Emma's heart fluttered in her chest. It wasn't just about what Liam wanted. It was about her, too. She had been so focused on navigating her feelings for him that she hadn't fully allowed herself to picture the future. She thought about it now, the life they could have together. The adventures, the challenges, and the quiet moments. She smiled as she looked at him. "I want that too," she said softly. "I want to build something lasting with you. But I also want to make sure I don't lose sight of who I am along the way." Liam reached out and gently took her hand in his. "You don't have to worry about that, Emma. I don't want you to change. I want you to be yourself. And whatever happens, we'll face it together." His words were like a balm to her soul. She had been afraid that the more she became a part of his world, the more she would have to sacrifice her own identity. But hearing him say that made her realize she didn't have to choose between them. They could build a future together without compromising who they were as individuals. The next few months felt like a whirlwind of new experiences. They took weekend trips to the coast, went to music festivals, and spent lazy Sundays cooking breakfast together. There were moments of uncertainty, but they always seemed to find their way back to each other. They communicated openly, talked about their dreams and fears, and were more supportive of one another than either had ever imagined possible. One day, Liam invited Emma to a business dinner. It was a high-profile event, one that she had never imagined attending, and at first, she was nervous. She worried that she would feel out of place, that she wouldn't fit into the world of corporate millionaires and influential figures. But Liam reassured her, as he always did. "You'll be fine," he said, holding her hand as they walked into the venue. "Just be yourself. You're perfect the way you are." When they arrived, Emma felt her nerves fade. The people around her were kind, welcoming, and more interested in hearing about her life than in judging her for where she came from. Liam's presence by her side made all the difference. It was then that Emma realized that no matter how different their worlds seemed, they were still the same in so many ways. They both cared about the same things: family, trust, and love. As the night came to a close and they headed home, Liam turned to her, a soft smile on his face. "I'm proud of you," he said. "You handled yourself so well tonight." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said. "You made me feel like I belonged." Liam kissed her forehead. "You always belong with me, Emma. Always." In that moment, Emma knew that no matter where their future took them, they had built something strong and unshakable. They had found each other in a world that often seemed unpredictable, and together, they were ready to face whatever came next. There would still be challenges, but Emma knew one thing for sure. They would face them side by side, just as they always had. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. As the weeks turned into months, Emma and Liam's relationship only deepened. The fears she once had about not fitting into his world seemed to fade away as she learned more about herself and her place in it. Liam had been right all along. He didn't want her to change. He simply wanted her to be herself, and she had come to realize that she could still be herself and be with him. It wasn't about fitting into his life. It was about building a life together. Emma had stopped overthinking every moment, stopped questioning if she was worthy of Liam, and started enjoying the relationship for what it was, a genuine connection that had the potential to last. Still, life had a way of throwing challenges their way. Just when things seemed perfect, an unexpected turn of events started to shake their foundation. Liam's family had always been a huge part of his life, and while Emma had bonded with his friends, she hadn't spent as much time with his relatives. One evening, Liam invited her to meet some of his family members for a weekend getaway at a family-owned estate in the countryside. Emma was nervous, unsure of how she would be received by people who had known Liam his whole life, but Liam assured her it would be a low-pressure event. As they arrived at the estate, Emma was taken aback by its grandeur. The house was massive, set on sprawling grounds with gardens and fountains, an old-world charm that contrasted sharply with the more modern spaces Emma was used to. Liam's family was already there, gathered in the grand dining room, and Emma could feel her nerves rise. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face them, but she put on a smile and walked into the room. Liam's mother, elegant and composed, immediately stood up to greet her. "Emma, it's so wonderful to finally meet you," she said, embracing her warmly. Emma felt her tension ease a little, but there was still a nagging voice in the back of her mind wondering if she was truly fitting in. The evening passed with more small talk, introductions, and polite conversation. Liam's family was friendly, but Emma couldn't help but feel out of place, like she didn't belong in this world of wealth and tradition. Liam's father, a man of few words, gave her a polite nod but said little, while his siblings were kind but somewhat distant. Emma felt as though she was being evaluated by them, and while she tried to brush it off, it lingered in her thoughts. The following day, as they took a walk through the estate's gardens, Liam could sense her discomfort. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft but filled with concern. Emma stopped walking, turning to face him. "I just feel like I don't belong here," she admitted. "Your family is so different. They're all so polished, so perfect. I don't know how I fit in." Liam reached for her hand, pulling her gently toward him. "You belong with me, Emma. That's all that matters," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "Don't worry about what anyone else thinks." Emma smiled weakly, appreciating his words, but she still felt the weight of the situation. She knew that Liam loved her, but what if his family couldn't accept her? What if she was never going to be good enough in their eyes? The weekend ended, and Emma returned to her apartment with mixed feelings. She had spent the last few days reflecting on the interactions, and while she appreciated how supportive Liam had been, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Her insecurity had resurfaced, and it wasn't just about her relationship with Liam's family. It was about herself. Had she truly changed, or was she still the same woman who didn't feel like she could fit into a world like theirs? As the days passed, Emma withdrew slightly, spending more time on her own, trying to process her feelings. Liam noticed the shift and, as always, was patient with her. One evening, he asked her if she wanted to talk. They sat on the couch, and Emma took a deep breath. "Liam," she started, her voice trembling a little. "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About your family, about us, and about where I fit in all of this." Liam looked at her, his expression soft and encouraging. "What are you thinking?" he asked gently. Emma hesitated for a moment, then spoke from her heart. "I love you. I really do. But I'm scared. Scared that I'm never going to be enough for you. I'm afraid I'll always be the outsider. I'm scared that no matter how hard I try, I'll never truly belong in your world." Liam reached out, his hand gently lifting her chin so their eyes met. "Emma," he said, his voice low and steady, "I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the money, the status, or what anyone else thinks. I care about you. You don't need to prove anything to me or to my family. What matters is what we have, and I wouldn't change a thing." Emma felt tears well up in her eyes. For the first time, she truly believed him. It wasn't about fitting into a world that didn't feel like hers. It was about finding the courage to be herself in a relationship that was built on trust, love, and acceptance. She had spent so long doubting herself, But now she knew that her worth wasn't defined by anyone else's standards. It was defined by how she felt about herself and how Liam saw her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I needed to hear that." Liam smiled, wiping away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. "You'll never lose yourself in this, Emma. Not with me." And as they sat together, their hands intertwined, Emma felt a deep sense of peace wash over her. She didn't have all the answers, and there would still be challenges ahead, but for the first time, she understood that she wasn't just enough. She was exactly what Liam needed, and that was enough. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." Life had settled into a rhythm for Emma and Liam. Their relationship had blossomed, and while there were still moments of doubt and uncertainty, Emma began to see that the life she had feared was actually one she could grow into. The anxiety she had once felt about fitting into Liam's world had softened, replaced by the understanding that their love didn't depend on whether she belonged to his world in the traditional sense. What mattered was that they were building something together. But even with all the growth and progress they had made, one challenge loomed large for Emma. Liam's business ventures had begun to demand more of his time, pulling him away from her more often. While he reassured her that it was just a temporary situation, the long nights of him working late and the increasing frequency of his business trips began to make Emma feel isolated. It wasn't that she doubted his commitment to her. She knew he loved her. But as he spent more time in meetings and on the road, Emma was left to navigate the quiet nights and the growing distance between them. She tried to stay busy, throwing herself into her work at the hotel and spending time with her aunt. But the loneliness was starting to creep in. She missed Liam. She missed the closeness they had shared. One evening, after a particularly long day, Emma sat in her apartment and stared out the window. The city was alive, but inside, she felt the weight of the silence. She missed the sound of Liam's voice, the laughter they shared, the moments when it felt like the world was just the two of them. When Liam returned late that night, tired from another round of meetings, Emma was already in bed. He slipped into the room quietly, careful not to wake her. But Emma stirred as she felt him beside her. "Liam?" she whispered, her voice soft. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep you waiting." Emma propped herself up on one elbow, watching him. "It's not about waiting, Liam," she said, her voice low but honest. "I've just been feeling like we're drifting apart. I don't want to, but I can't ignore that we're not spending as much time together." Liam looked at her, his face filled with regret. He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I've been so caught up in everything lately. But you're right. I've neglected you, and that's not okay." Emma shook her head slightly. "I know your work is important, but I miss us. I miss the way we used to be." Liam's face softened, and he leaned in, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "I miss us too," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been so focused on everything else, I didn't realize how much I was pulling away from you. But I promise, Emma, I'm going to do better. I don't want to lose what we have." Emma's heart ached at his words. She knew that Liam wasn't doing this intentionally, but the distance had left a mark. "I don't want to lose us either," she whispered. "But we have to find a balance. We can't let work get in the way of what we're building together." Liam nodded, squeezing her hand. "I agree. I'll make the changes I need to make. We'll figure this out." They spent the rest of the night talking about their concerns, about the future they both wanted, and about how they could support each other better. It wasn't easy, but it was exactly what they needed. The next few weeks were an adjustment for both of them. Liam made a concerted effort to spend more time with Emma, cutting back on unnecessary work trips and scheduling time for just the two of them. They started having dinner together more regularly, taking weekend trips, and finding small moments to connect. It wasn't always perfect, but it was real, and it was progress. Emma, in turn, found herself more engaged in their shared future, not just as a part of Liam's life, but as someone who was beginning to carve out her own place in it. She still had moments of doubt, moments when she wondered if she could fully embrace this life, but those moments were fewer now. She was starting to see that love didn't require perfection. It required understanding, communication, and the willingness to grow together. One Sunday afternoon, after spending a quiet day together, Liam took Emma to a small park near his apartment. They sat on a bench, watching the people around them, the children running and laughing, the couple strolling hand in hand. It was a peaceful moment, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt completely at ease. "You're everything I've wanted, Emma," Liam said, breaking the silence. "And I know we've had our challenges, but I believe in us. I believe in what we're building." Emma looked at him, her heart swelling with love. "I believe in us too, Liam," she replied softly. "We've come so far, and I think we're finally getting it right." Liam smiled, his hand reaching for hers. "We'll keep figuring it out, one step at a time," he said. And in that moment, Emma realized that the future wasn't about having all the answers or rushing to the end. It was about walking beside Liam, taking each step together, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could face whatever came their way. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. As the weeks rolled by, the foundation of Emma and Liam's relationship continued to strengthen. They had learned to communicate openly, and their commitment to each other seemed to grow with every passing day. Still, life had a way of throwing challenges their way, and just when things seemed to be settling, a curveball came that would test their relationship in ways neither of them expected. Liam's business, which had been a constant part of his life, was experiencing a major expansion. While he had always been driven and dedicated, this new phase of growth required him to travel even more frequently and work longer hours. He had been upfront about the increasing demands, but Emma couldn't help but feel the strain. It wasn't just the late nights or the business trips. It was the subtle, creeping distance that started to form between them. They both noticed it, though neither spoke of it right away. Emma began to feel like an afterthought in Liam's life, as though her place had shifted from being his priority to merely another piece of his busy world. She tried to be understanding. She knew how important his career was to him, and she had always admired his work ethic. But as the weeks passed, Emma found herself feeling more and more isolated. One evening, when Liam returned from another long trip, Emma greeted him at the door, but instead of the usual warm embrace, there was a coldness in the air that neither of them could ignore. Liam noticed the change right away. "Hey," he said softly, closing the door behind him. "You okay?" Emma looked up at him, her expression more guarded than usual. "I'm fine," she said, her voice lacking the usual warmth. "Just tired." Liam frowned, stepping closer. "What's going on, Emma? You're distant." Emma hesitated, the words weighing heavily on her chest. "I don't know, Liam," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been feeling like we're drifting apart. You're always gone, always busy, and I don't know where I fit anymore." The silence between them grew thick. Liam could see the pain in her eyes, and it tore at him. He had been so focused on his work that he hadn't realized how much it was affecting her. "I'm sorry," he said, taking her hands in his. "I never meant to make you feel that way. I got caught up in everything. I didn't see how it was pulling us apart." Emma's heart ached as she looked at him. She knew he didn't mean to hurt her, but the truth was, she had been feeling invisible. She had been patient, understanding, but it was starting to feel like her needs were being ignored. "I need you, Liam," she whispered. "I need to feel like I'm a priority too." Liam pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if afraid she might slip away. "You are a priority, Emma. I'm so sorry I've made you feel like you weren't. I'll do better. I promise." Emma held on to him, the tears she had been holding back finally slipping down her cheeks. "I want to believe that," she said, her voice muffled against his chest. "But I'm scared that this is just how it's going to be, that I'll always be second to your work." Liam pulled back slightly to look at her, his eyes filled with determination. "That's not going to happen, Emma," he said, his voice firm. "I'm going to make changes. I'm going to make us work, because I want this. I want you." Emma looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of doubt, but all she saw was sincerity. She had heard the words before, but now, something in the way he spoke them made her believe him. "You're right," she said softly. "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose us." Liam kissed her forehead, his lips lingering there for a moment. "Then we'll figure it out. We'll take it one step at a time." Over the next few weeks, Liam made a conscious effort to change. He cut back on some of his work commitments, set boundaries, and made sure to spend more time with Emma. It wasn't always easy, and it took time, but they both put in the effort. They communicated more openly about their needs, and though there were moments of frustration and tension, they managed to weather them together. One weekend, Liam took Emma to a quiet lakeside retreat, hoping that the peaceful surroundings would allow them to reconnect. The retreat was simple, with no distractions, just the two of them and nature. They spent their days hiking, swimming, and cooking meals together. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, talk about their dreams, and enjoy each other's company. For the first time in months, Emma felt a sense of peace, a feeling of balance between them. One night, as they sat by the fire, Liam took Emma's hand and turned to her with a serious look on his face. "I've been thinking a lot about what we've been through," he said, his voice low. "And I realized something. I can't do this without you. You're the one I want by my side always." Emma's heart fluttered, the weight of his words sinking in. "I want that too, Liam," she said, her voice steady. "I want us to keep growing together. But we have to promise each other that we'll never lose sight of what matters, us." Liam smiled, pulling her closer. "We're in this together," he said, kissing her softly. "And I won't let anything tear us apart." In that moment, Emma knew that no matter what the future held, they had found a way to make it work. Together, they had faced challenges, but they had also built something strong, a love that was worth fighting for. And as they sat there by the fire, Emma felt like the luckiest woman in the world, knowing that with Liam by her side, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request. After the quiet weekend retreat, things between Emma and Liam felt different, in the best possible way. They had faced the challenges that life threw at them and emerged stronger for it. The weight of their relationship no longer felt overwhelming. Instead, it felt like a partnership, a commitment that both of them were ready to continue building. But as they returned to their busy lives, reality began to set in. While Liam had made progress in cutting back his work commitments, the demands of his growing business didn't just disappear. He was still pulled in many directions, and the pressure of it all began to show. Emma noticed the subtle signs. He was more stressed, more tired, and sometimes, even though they were together, there was a distance between them that hadn't been there before. He tried to hide it, but Emma could see right through it. One evening, as Liam walked in after another long day, Emma didn't even need to ask how his day had been. The weariness in his eyes said it all. She felt a pang in her heart, knowing that despite his efforts, he was still sinking deeper into the demands of his work. "Liam, we need to talk," Emma said as she stood up from the couch, her voice gentle but firm. Liam froze for a moment, his hand still on the door, before turning to face her. "What's wrong?" he asked, already sensing the change in her tone. She took a deep breath, her heart heavy with the words she knew she had to say. "It's you, Liam. You're still putting everything else first, and I'm starting to feel like I'm losing you again. I know you're trying, but I don't think it's enough anymore. You're still putting work before us, before me." Liam winced, the words hitting him harder than he expected. "I'm sorry, Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I never meant to hurt you. I just got caught up in it all, and I didn't realize how much I was drifting away from you again." Emma stepped closer to him, her expression soft but resolute. "I know you didn't mean to," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But this isn't just about you being busy. It's about us, about what we need. I can't keep waiting for the time when you'll finally have time for me." There was a long silence between them, and Liam struggled to find the right words. He had always believed that he could handle it all, that he could balance his work, his family, and his relationship with Emma. But as the tension in the room grew, he realized that he had been fooling himself. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted, the vulnerability in his voice clear. "I don't know how to give you the attention you deserve and still manage everything else." Emma's heart softened at his admission, but she knew that she couldn't keep walking down this road of uncertainty. "Liam, I love you, but I need more than just promises. I need action. I can't keep waiting for you to make changes that never come. If this is going to work, we both need to prioritize it." Her words hung heavy in the air, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Liam ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated and defeated. He had tried so hard to make everything work, but in the process, he had neglected the very thing that mattered most. "I can't lose you, Emma," he said quietly, finally meeting her eyes. "I don't want to lose us." Emma's voice softened. "Then show me, Liam. Show me that you're willing to fight for us, that we're worth more than just a few spare moments here and there." Liam nodded, determination flooding his chest. "You're right. I've been too focused on everything else, and I haven't been there for you the way I should. I'll change, Emma. I will. But I need you to trust me." Emma took a step back, considering his words. She wanted to believe him, but it was hard to ignore the hurt that lingered. She had trusted him before, and yet, here they were again, on the brink of losing something important. "I'm willing to try," she said softly, her voice shaky but resolute. "But you have to prove it to me. I can't just keep waiting for things to get better on their own." Liam stepped forward, his hands reaching out for hers. "I understand. I'm sorry, Emma. And I'll prove it. I'll make the changes, and I'll be there for you. I don't want to be the man who loses you because of my mistakes." Emma nodded slowly, feeling a glimmer of hope despite the uncertainty. She knew it wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like Liam was ready to put in the effort. "Let's take it one day at a time," she said softly. "I'm not asking for everything at once, but I need to see that you're committed to making this work." "I am," Liam replied, his voice steady. "I promise I am." They stood there in silence for a moment, their hands still intertwined. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy. There would be obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But as Emma looked into Liam's eyes, she saw the sincerity of his commitment, and she knew that this time, they were ready to face the challenges together. Slowly, step by step, they would rebuild what had been strained, and together, they would create the future they both wanted. Emma wasn't sure what would happen next, but one thing was certain: she was ready to walk beside Liam as they worked toward the life they both dreamed of. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." After their heart-to-heart conversation, things between Emma and Liam felt like they were slowly returning to a healthier place. Liam kept his promise to put more effort into their relationship. He spent less time working late, and they started having more regular date nights again. It was refreshing to Emma, but at the same time, there was a sense of caution in her. She had been hurt before, and as much as she wanted to trust that things had changed, there was a lingering fear that it might all fall apart again. However, as the days turned into weeks, Emma noticed that Liam's efforts were sincere. He wasn't just making promises. He was taking concrete actions to show her that she mattered. They started to find their balance again. Liam was still deeply passionate about his work, but he had learned how to make time for Emma without feeling like he was sacrificing his career. The small, thoughtful gestures began to add up. Whether it was surprising her with flowers after a long day or taking her out to a quiet dinner when he knew she needed a break, Liam's actions spoke louder than words. Emma appreciated it more than she had expected. For the first time in a while, she felt like the priority in his life that she had always hoped to be. It wasn't just about the grand gestures. It was the day-to-day consistency that made the difference. Still, there was one thing that continued to weigh on Emma's mind. Despite the improvements, the distance she had once felt between them didn't vanish entirely. There were still moments when she couldn't shake the feeling of being separate from his world. It wasn't that Liam wasn't trying, he was. But Emma had always been someone who valued her independence, and while she knew she was now a part of Liam's life, she couldn't completely shake the feeling that she was still trying to find where she truly fit. One evening, after another quiet dinner at home, Emma sat across from Liam, her heart heavy with unspoken thoughts. She had been reflecting on their progress, and though she knew they were doing better, she still felt unsettled. "Liam," she began, her voice soft but full of emotion. "I need to talk to you about something." Liam looked up from his plate, his expression concerned. "What is it?" he asked, setting down his fork. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I'm feeling a little lost," she said quietly. "I know things have gotten better between us, and I know we're making progress, but I still don't feel like I've fully found my place in your world. I love you, but sometimes I feel like I'm walking on the outside, looking in." Liam's face softened, and he reached across the table to take her hand. "Emma, you are not an outsider. You never have been. You're part of my life, my world. I want you in it, fully. But I also understand how you feel. I know I've pulled away at times, and I never meant for you to feel like you didn't belong." Emma looked down at their intertwined hands, the weight of her emotions pressing down on her. "I don't want to lose who I am, Liam. I've spent so much of my life being independent, taking care of myself. I'm scared that if I completely immerse myself in your world, I'll lose the parts of me that matter." Liam's voice was gentle, full of understanding. "I get it. I've never wanted you to lose yourself in this, Emma. I love you for who you are, the independent, strong, beautiful woman you've always been. I just want to be a part of your life. I want to build something with you, but I don't want you to feel like you have to change to fit in." Emma felt her heart lighten as she looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I want that too, Liam," she said softly. "I want us to have a future together, but I need to know that we can make it work without me losing myself in it. I don't want to sacrifice who I am for us to be happy." Liam squeezed her hand, his eyes locked on hers. "You won't lose yourself. We'll figure this out together. You can be you, and I can be me, and we can still have the life we both want." Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her, the weight of her fears easing as Liam spoke. It wasn't about compromising who they were. It was about finding a way to move forward without losing themselves in the process. "I believe in us," Emma whispered. "And I believe in what we're building." Liam smiled, his expression full of warmth and love. "Me too, Emma. I'm here for the long haul, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure we both feel whole, together." As they sat there, holding each other's hands, Emma realized that this relationship wasn't about perfection. It was about growth, communication, and the willingness to work through the challenges together. She didn't have to be anyone else, and neither did Liam. Together, they would find a way to create the life they both wanted, a life that was their own. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a true sense of belonging, not in the world around her, but in the life she was building with Liam. It wasn't always going to be easy, but Emma knew that with Liam by her side, they could face whatever came their way. "I apologize for the confusion. Here's the continuation based on your request." After the heartfelt conversation, Emma and Liam's relationship entered a new phase, one where both of them had learned to prioritize what truly mattered. They had each other's backs in a way that felt different from before, where compromises were made, trust was rebuilt, and love was nurtured. With each passing day, Emma felt more at ease, knowing that they could navigate life together, regardless of the challenges ahead. The pace was still slower than it had been before, but there was something reassuring about it. They didn't feel rushed to meet unrealistic expectations, but instead, they found joy in simply being present for each other. Liam continued to make time for Emma amidst his demanding career, and while the business world still called on him often, he had learned to balance his time better. It wasn't just about the grand gestures anymore. It was about the everyday moments that made them feel connected. Emma no longer felt like she was walking in someone else's world. She was walking in their world, one that they had built together. There were still moments of doubt, of course. Emma sometimes found herself wondering if she was doing the right thing, if their future would always be as uncertain as it seemed in those quiet moments of reflection. But those moments were shorter now, fading quicker as she realized that no matter what happened, they were in it together. Liam was no longer just the successful man she had met in the beginning. He was her partner, her equal, and she, in turn, was no longer the woman trying to fit into his world. She had found her own place within it. One summer evening, after another busy week, Liam took Emma out to their favorite spot by the lake. It had become their place of peace, an oasis where they could leave the stress of everyday life behind. As they sat by the water, watching the sun set in the sky, Liam turned to her with a smile that spoke volumes. "You know," he began, his voice soft, "when I first met you, I had no idea how much you would change my life. You've made me a better person, Emma. You've shown me what really matters." Emma looked at him, her heart swelling with love. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've made me realize that I don't have to choose between who I am and who I want to be with. With you, I can be both." Liam took her hand, his grip warm and firm. "I'll always support you, Emma. I'll always be here for you, no matter what. We'll figure it all out together, like we always have." Emma smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder as they sat in peaceful silence, the sounds of nature surrounding them. It wasn't about having everything figured out. It was about knowing that they had each other, and that was enough. As the months passed, their relationship continued to evolve. They faced new challenges, but they always did so as a team. The ups and downs of life no longer seemed so daunting because they knew they could face them together. Emma found herself thriving in ways she hadn't expected. She pursued her own passions with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that Liam supported her in all that she did. Likewise, Liam found his balance, learning to give as much to their relationship as he gave to his career. Their love had become something that wasn't just about overcoming obstacles. It was about growing stronger with each one they faced. Then, one evening, Liam surprised Emma with a quiet dinner at their favorite restaurant. As they sat down to eat, Liam reached across the table, his eyes filled with something more than love, something deeper, something more permanent. "Emma," he said softly, "I've been thinking a lot about our future, about everything we've been through and everything that's yet to come." Emma felt her heart race, sensing that he was about to say something important. "What is it?" she asked, her voice steady. Liam smiled, his eyes never leaving hers. "I love you, Emma, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat, the weight of his words settling into her heart. "I love you too, Liam," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "And I want that too." Liam reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a delicate ring, its simplicity reflecting the sincerity of his words. "Will you marry me, Emma?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma's heart skipped a beat, a flood of emotions washing over her. In that moment, all the struggles, the doubts, and the fears melted away. All that mattered was that they had found something real, something lasting. "Yes," she said softly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, I will." Liam smiled, his eyes shining with happiness as he slipped the ring onto her finger. In that moment, they both knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where their love, built on trust, patience, and understanding, would continue to grow. They had come so far, and now, together, they were ready to face the future. Emma knew that life would still bring challenges, but she also knew that they were stronger together. They had built a foundation that nothing could shake, and as they left the restaurant hand in hand, Emma felt a deep sense of peace. The future was uncertain, but one thing was for sure: they would face it side by side, just as they always had. I apologize for the confusion. Here's the SEO-optimized description based on your request. Discover the incredible journey of love and self-discovery in this emotional story of a woman and a millionaire navigating their relationship through the highs and lows of life. In this captivating tale, we explore themes of trust, vulnerability, and the challenges that come with balancing a busy career with a blossoming romance. As their relationship deepens, they face moments of doubt, distance, and uncertainty, but they are determined to overcome these obstacles together. Their bond strengthens as they learn to prioritize each other and communicate openly, while navigating the complexities of their different worlds. This story is a perfect addition to the collection of Millionaire stories, showing the transformative power of love and the importance of compromise and understanding. In relationships, follow their emotional journey as they find balance, rebuild trust, and face the future together. If you love Millionaire stories that feature raw emotion, growth, and real-life challenges, this is a must-read. Immerse yourself in a narrative that touches on the power of love and the resilience needed to build a lasting connection. With themes of ambition, sacrifice, and mutual respect, this story captures the essence of what it means to be in a relationship with a millionaire. Get ready to experience an unforgettable journey that brings two people from different walks of life closer together in ways they never expected. Perfect for those who enjoy millionaire stories with a focus on personal growth, commitment, and love.